Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Thanks for tuning in for another episode. I recently visited a local tackle shop. I had both boys with me, and as we were perusing the aisles and all the different tackle they had, I was kind of taken aback when I saw a giant display of these guys, the old paper maps. And it really was kind of funny because I saw them and it like instantly brought me back to like my younger years at bait shops, where a lot of times you'd have these giant displays of maps. If you were in an area that had a bunch of lakes, or went to like a Bass Pro Shops, and I think Bass Pro Shops probably still has these, but you would see just big displays of all the maps of those local lakes, especially up here in like Wisconsin, where you could go to a town like Minocqua and there'd be 50 maps for the 50 lakes that are all within 25 minutes. So it was really a valuable, well, I shouldn't say valuable. It really was a big part of my research for all the different lakes in the areas that I grew up, and all the different tournament lakes that I started to go to. I mean, when I flipped through these, I have all different stuff. Lake Champlain, Grand Lake, another Lake Champlain, one for the north, one for the south. This is Kentucky Lake, some of the local lakes that I grew up fishing. I mean, I just have pretty much every lake I went to, I have. You know, when I was starting my tournament world, like professional tournament world, it was a big part of the research that I did. Now, I can't necessarily say I've looked at one of these probably in the last 10 years, but the reality is when I first started getting started, they were something that I thought were valuable in trying to help me break down lakes. And what I mean by that is, you know, when you open it up, you got a map of the lake. So what is this one? This is Lake Champlain North. So this is just the north portion of Lake Champlain, which goes from, what is that? So it goes from basically the bottom part of the inland sea up all the way to the northern section of Missisquoi. That's probably a 15 to 20, probably 15 mile section, maybe 20 miles. So 20 miles of water right here on a little bit of a page. And then it's got hot spot things marked, and on the back areas where it tells you to fish. You feel like when you bought one of these, you had gold in your hand. Like it was just going to tell you exactly where to go and fish. And back then, there wasn't a whole lot of information for an angler to get. You know, that was kind of it. And the reality is, at this point, I'm surprised that they still are actually even in business. And what I mean by that is there's not any value in here that I can't get on the internet with simple researches, and it'll be much more valuable. You know, I think when you got them, you were like, oh, okay, I'll fish, you know, anywhere there's a marked up place. Well, what you don't realize is like this stretch of bank right here is probably 2 miles long, maybe even more. And they've got the whole area highlighted. Well, yeah, you can catch fish in that area. You can catch fish almost anywhere on Lake Champlain, to be honest with you. But it's so just nondescript. I don't know how to describe it. It's like just marking up random shoals and stuff. Yeah, they hold fish, but they're not, it's just not the way to go about it, in my opinion. So like when I break these down and look at these, it almost makes me chuckle in a little bit, because you're just like throwing a number in an area. Now, I know that if Hotspots was watching this video, that they're going to say, yes, we offer value. There is value to be offered in these in terms of helping somebody understand the layout of the lake, the different creeks, the different areas, maybe some of the different baits and things to fish. But my point as an angler is I just think you're going to be much better off doing more lake breakdown research on your own with internet research than necessarily just getting a map. I mean, the reality is, I don't know what these maps cost now. I'm going to say they're probably $7 to $10 is my guess. Maybe they're more than that. But the reality is you can go out and you can get, you know, some of the mapping apps that will give you such better detail for the same, you know, price. Maybe you got to pay a monthly fee. I think Navionics is like, I want to say it's like $100 for the year. So that comes out to like bucks, $8 to $10 a month, which would be like buying 10 of these, or maybe even less. But the reality is you'll have such better detail on those than the little bit of contour lines that you have here. These contour lines are, I mean, in a way, they're almost humorous because they're not going to be good enough to put you anywhere. They might give you a little bit of direction as to maybe where you can drive your boat, but it's just not the detail that you get on the current maps that are out there. You know, you'd be way better off buying a map chip and putting it in your electronics and just studying the map chip on your electronics than looking at the map here. You know, from a standpoint of the different areas to fish, yeah, it might give you a starting a starting location, but generally it's not necessarily like it's going to be the best stuff ever that's out there. You might get a little bit of information where they kind of break down, like, you know, the different species that are in the lake and when they stocked it and things like that. But it's just, in my opinion, if you're going to go to a new lake, these are the things to do. You get you either have a map chip for the region you're in, or you can go and get an app, like I said, of one of the map chips basically that have their own apps. You can study the much more detailed contour lines. Jump onto Google Earth. Go look at Google Earth. You'll get 35 times more fishing locations on Google Earth than you'll get from here. You'll get very specific idea as to what the lake actually looks like. If it's a clear lake, you can see the same shoals you can see on these. Go watch some YouTube videos on the lake you're going to, and you'll get a really good understanding as to what baits to use for specific times of the year. You'll see what the lake looks like. I mean, it's crazy to me to think, you know, I used to read these and study these so much, and I never even truly understood what the lake looked like before I got there. It was like, you know, you understood it from looking at the map, but you didn't actually understand what it looks like. You know, you look at a map of Lake Mead and it looks, you know, they all look the same, right? They're just blue and white outlines of the lake, and then you get the Lake Mead and it's a desert lake. And it's like, it's so mind-blowing if you didn't know what they look like. But if you went and watched some videos before you went to Lake Mead, you'd feel like you'd been there before because you'd seen people fish it. From a lake standpoint and like learning areas to fish, I just generally tend to think you're better off going with an open mind instead of like, oh, I got to fish spot number 29. You're better off going and really trying to figure it out on your own. And what I mean by that is, like, in this case, these spots that they provide are so general that you don't fully even understand what you're looking for. You go to the spot and you're like, well, I'm at the spot, I'm going to catch fish. The reality is maybe that spot has a couple of really specific little things. So when they say a hump, you go to the hump, especially on Lake Champlain, it might be 5 miles long. But there's key specific boulders or contour line breaks or things to look for on the hump that you'll never understand by looking at this map. If you go and you break it down on your own, you're going to understand it more. So I'm not saying there's not some value that you can't get from these maps, but it's just surprising to me that people out there are still buying it with the idea that they're really going to have a good understanding as to what they're getting into. You know, in my opinion, I feel like most of these at this point are being like hung up almost as a map of the lake that somebody can hang in their VRBO. So when a renter comes and looks at it, they have an idea as to what the lake looks like. And that's really all it is at that point. It's almost a piece of artwork, because I really feel like they're outdated and they're just not nearly as valuable as they once were. But even having said that, I think we put way too much emphasis on the lake maps in the past. Like, in hindsight, I look back on it and I'm like, I don't know that they ever actually helped me catch fish. I really can't think of any time I pulled a paper map out and was like, that helped me catch fish. I really don't know that that's ever happened to me. So let me know in the comment section, what are your thoughts? Do you think paper maps still have a place? Maybe I'm totally skipping over something and not thinking of something. But man, all they are is collecting dust for me at this point, because I have way too many of them. So Throw in the comment section. Let me know if I'm completely wrong on this. Otherwise, I appreciate all you watching on a regular basis. If you enjoyed today's video, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Stay tuned, new video coming out tomorrow.